Hey, it's Andrew at BTO Range. We're going to start doing a series of videos on some gunsmith type tips and tricks, and this will be the first of such episodes here. And we're going to talk about the devil's juice, Loctite. Thread locker in general, Loctite is just a brand name, probably the most known brand name of thread locker out there. They're pretty much all cyanoacrylates, basically super glue of various strengths. So it's and the reason we bring it up is that probably not a week goes by that we don't have to undo something that a well-meaning individual, whether it's a home user or some shop somewhere, has used Loctite inappropriately, and then somebody tries to remove the screw that's been Loctite in, strip it out, and then we have to deal with that. And we either have to, with luck, we can get it out without having to resort to machine tools, but we've had to drill out everything from Glocks to staccatos because excessive Loctite's been used, and then you can't put heat to it because there's an optic on it, or whatever the issue is. But there's a right way and a wrong way to do it. And what is on Loctite's website as far as how to apply it doesn't pertain to the gun world. So let's talk about the right way to do it, and then some of the problems that you can get into using not just Loctite product, but any of the cyanoacrylate products on your optic screws. So what we have here, let's set these off to the side. We have a blue and a red Loctite. The red Loctite, you're not going to use that at all. That has no application for optic screws, whether it's scope mounts or anything else. So the blue Loctite can have some application if it's used correctly. So let's look at what we've got going on here. This is a little Shadow Systems MR920 cut for an optic. Got a little Holosun optic here that goes on. It fits on it without a plate. Now you can see that it's already been Loctite in place, so you can see the dried Loctite product in these screw holes. So there was a little too much. We're going to reinstall it. We're going to show you the right way to do it. What we see people doing is they'll take the Loctite, and I'm going to put that down so I don't accidentally do it wrong myself, and they'll squeeze the product down into the holes and allow the liquid to flow down into the holes, mount the optic, then bolt the optic to it. It looks like that would be the most efficient way to do it. It's the quickest way to do it. It's also the most incorrect. It is absolutely wrong. So the way that we'd like to see you do it, and I mean, or if you don't do it that way, when it comes time to remove the optic, you can always pay us to drill that off for you if you'd like. But we're going to take just a little drop of this Loctite, or this thread locker, and we're going to put it directly onto the screw threads. Just a little dab will do you. It doesn't take much. Just a little dab will do you. I kind of even wipe that off just a little bit. And I'm going to set that aside and let it dry for a second before we do anything else with it. We don't want it to flow down off of the threads into the hole. It's kind of where I'm going with that. And pay attention to your screw threads. I don't have any. They don't have. Some of the screw threads, particularly on scope mount screws, scope-based screws, if you look at the screw threads, they already have a thread locker on the threads themselves. You'll see a blue dot or a colored dot on the screw threads. If you have that, you really don't need any more. As long as you go to the appropriate torque value for that screw, you probably don't need thread locker, additional thread locker on those screws. So we hear a lot of people say, I'm going to put Loctite on it or a thread locker on it because I'm never going to take it off. Well, at some point you are. And then you may run into something that you haven't bargained for. So let's show you what one of the problems will be. This is a SIG 320 slide. And this is a factory cut, a factory optic ready slide. So you see these two holes here for cover plates and optics, but these holes are not blind holes, they are through holes. They go all the way down, and I don't know if you can see through this tunnel right here. Both of these screw holes empty into that tunnel. So what lives in that tunnel? Well, the extractor plunger, the plunger that goes down through here that puts tension on that extractor, lives in that tunnel. So I should have been keeping count over the last few years when SIG started putting these Optic ready cuts on these 320 slides. I can't tell you how many of them have come in for failure to extract or some kind of feeding problem or what have you, and it's because whoever put the Optic on it basically glued that extractor plunger shut. Therefore, the extractor didn't have any ability to flex back and forth, and either was flexed open, it wasn't grabbing the case, or it was flexed shut, it wasn't allowing the case to feed up. There are any number of issues can happen with that, and then we have to go in and unglue that. So obviously we can't drill that. So how do you unglue it? Well, there's a product called Debonder, D-E-B-O-N-D-E-R, Debonder. You can actually get it at Hobby Lobby. You can probably get it like everything else on the planet off of Amazon. But that can be effective. It melts cyanoacrylate superglue. It's designed to defeat superglue specifically, but it works on any of the Loctite products. And if you can get it in contact with where the thread locker is, it will melt it in just a matter of seconds without any heat, and you'll be able to back out the part. So it can be a little bit more difficult if the thread locker is way deep down and flown into this channel here. You can drip the debonder through this side, through this side, and try to get it in there. But sometimes you end up having to heat this entire slide and drive that plunger out the back. So we prefer you didn't do that. SIG would prefer you didn't do that for sure. So it's best avoided. So the thread locker stuff can be useful if it's done appropriately. So we would like to have a little bit more time on this, but so let's just kind of blot the excess off. And no plate required for this particular installation here. There is a filler plate that can be used on this. So we're just going to run these screws into place here. There's no magic here, I'm just screwing a screw in. And look at your manufacturer's recommendation for the amount of inch pounds. If you have, and typically it's less than 10 inch pounds. If you have a wrench that'll do that slight amount of inch pounds, then by all means do that. If not, it's about a quarter past, eighth to a quarter past finger tight typically on these screws. And that will get you there. So once we get these screws in place, and again, this is one of our guns off of our rental fleet. This Optic's been on it since we put it on the rental fleet. What we do is we take a marker and we'll run a mark across the screw head and the body there. That lets us know, just by looking at it when the gun gets turned back in from rental, whether those screws have loosened or not, and then we can take the appropriate action. So this way we are relatively certain that we're not going to get Loctite in where it doesn't want to go. Now on a shadow system, now bear in mind, you have this issue, some Glocks have this issue as well, where the Optic plate screw drains into the extractor depressor plunger channel. And that occurs on, it doesn't really occur on shadows because the shadow has a shorter plunger and it's just set up differently, the back of the slide. But that said, getting too aggressive with the Loctite, the stuff smears around and it can go where you don't want it to go. And then that becomes a problem down the road. And again, we don't mind machining them out. If we have to completely drill a broken screw head out, or you pop the screw head off, then we have to drill through the slide body and retap the hole. So that can get, I mean, why spend that money? It's like 65 bucks per hole to do that. So it's much easier to do it right the first time. So Loctite, we use it, and we use it for a lot of applications, but it's best used sparingly. This bottle of Loctite should last us, gosh, I mean, this exact bottle has lasted over a year, and we mount a ton of scopes here, and we mount a whole ton of optics as well. So a little goes a long way. Don't overdo it. Pay attention to where that screw hole leads to, and where that liquid might flow to. We've even had Marlin rifles with people dropping Loctite through the scope mount holes actually lock up the rifle, so where you couldn't open it. So it can happen. It does happen. So if you like what we're doing, if you like this particular type of video, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Let us know. We're going to be doing things with Remington 1100s and Remington 870s, and as stuff comes in the shop that looks like it'd be of interest as to how things mess up and how we fix stuff here in the shop, we'll certainly do that. And once again, check out our other videos. We appreciate your support as always, and we'll see you next time.